Hey everybody, Daniel Gade here with a Facebook Live Town Hall. Excited about hearing anybody's questions and excited about engaging with you wherever you happen to be right now. I know it's a Tuesday afternoon, so I hope if you're at work, you have permission of your boss to be on the computer right now doing this. Couple of questions that I thought would be really interesting to engage with on this is first, I'm Daniel Gade. I'm a lieutenant colonel, a retired lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army. I spent more than 25 years in the Army. Started out as a private and ended up as a lieutenant colonel, 25 years later. And during my time in service, what was really great is that I always had a mission and I always had a purpose. And the purpose was to serve the Constitution, to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. And so when people ask me like what interested me in joining the Army or what made me interested in joining the Army, I always say, look, it was just about service and about what a great country we live in. And we certainly do live in a great country. And so I'm proud to serve. I was proud to serve then, and I'll be proud to serve as your next United States Senator. Virginia needs a real change from the swamp-dwelling, swamp ethics creature that we have in charge of in our Senate seat right now. We need a real change. Now, the next question here on my computer is, where do you stand on school choice? Here's the answer. The best way to have government do things is to have government do things as close to the people who are affected as possible. So when the federal government, way over there, tries to do things, it always does them clumsily. It always wastes money, and it always applies uniform solutions to everybody's problems. And it's the wrong approach. Instead, what we need to do is we need to push decision making as close to the user as possible. That means that parents are the ones who should be choosing their school situation. And if you want to send your kids to public school, that's awesome. You should do that and be involved in your school board. Be involved in run for school board so you can make good decisions as close to the students and families as possible. Next question, the biggest waste in our government right now. That's a tough one, right? What is the biggest waste in our government right now? We have a lot of waste in our government, and it all comes down to this. The Constitution of the United States gives the federal government certain particular responsibilities, and everything else is pushed to the people or to the states. It's called the 10th Amendment. And the 10th Amendment is really, really great because of that reason. So it's almost impossible to answer the question, what is the biggest source of government waste right now? But it's basically any time the federal government tries to do things that are best left to the people or to the states. That's the 10th Amendment, constitutional, limited government, conservative point of view on that question. All right, so this is a great one. Okay, so Tia Harp Murphy says, have you served in the military? And I guess, Tia, that you missed the opening statement. Yes, I served in the military for 25 years. I enlisted in the Army when I was 17. And then a year later, I went to West Point and graduated from West Point in 1997 and served for 20 years on active duty in the Army, including I was wounded in combat twice and lost my right leg at the hip in 2005. So yes, I've served in the Army. I was proud of my Army service. I am proud of my Army service, and I thank all my veteran brothers and sisters out there. Super proud of you. And honestly, we think about this Senate race that I'm in now, and I think, this isn't about the Senate or House or government or anything like that. This is just about service. And it's about the same kind of service that I've always done, which is service to the Constitution. So that's what this race is really about, is service to the U.S. Constitution. All right. So let me see. On which issue would you work with the other party right now? Well, that's a great question. Thanks, Sarah. So one question I really love, or one thing that the Democrats seem to be willing to work with Republicans on, is the question of criminal justice reform. I'm a big fan of criminal justice reform. I think the president has done a good job on this issue, and and the administration and the president and the Congress together are doing a great job of finding ways to, when somebody does something nonviolent and they end up in jail for a long time, does that really serve justice? And the answer is, yeah. I mean, in some cases it does. If somebody is trafficking huge amounts of drugs. It's nonviolent, but it harms a whole lot of people. But if somebody is trafficking or using a small amount of drugs, maybe we can rework the sentencing structure so that it does not affect minorities differently than it does people who are non-minority, that it doesn't affect men different than women, things like that. So there's a lot that can be done on criminal justice reform, and it seems that the Democrats are willing to work with this president on that question. Why are you the best candidate in the Republican race? So, the interesting thing here, there are a couple other candidates in the Republican race. There's only one other one who's made it on the ballot, I think. We'll see if the other ones get on, and then we'll go on to the primary in June. So as you're looking for somebody to be United States Senator, you need to look, I think, what you need to look for is, do they have the right principles to do to be good in that role, right? I got 4 principles, and they're on my website, gadeforvirginia.com, GADEFOR, Virginia.com. 4 principles are really easy: strong national defense, limited government, constitutional fidelity, and free market systems. As you look at those things, hope my connection didn't just get disrupted there. Okay, somebody give me a thumbs up if I'm still good here. I think I am. Okay, good, thank you. So as you look at those things, you need to have, if you're going to elect a Republican to serve in the U.S. Senate, you want somebody who can be committed to and articulate those principles in a real way. 2, you want somebody who is capable of doing the work. And if you look at my biography, again, gadeforvirginia.com, I served in the White House under President George W. Bush when I was on active duty. I later served as a political appointee in the Trump administration, and so that was another. And then I've served on a couple of national level boards and committees, and that was all my work. And then the other things that I've done, I co-founded a $15 million nonprofit experiment from their disabilities. So I'm ready for this work. I'm excited about this work. I'm committed to our shared values, and I will defend our shared values. I led my soldiers in combat, including a firefight one night where I was wounded for the first time and was decorated for valor. So I know what it's like to fight, and I will fight for our shared values. I can promise you that. Ron, great question. Warner has a lot of weaknesses. His main weakness, I would say, is this. For the last 11 years, he's been in the Senate. And before that, he was in the governor's mansion in Virginia. And before that, he was a sort of a, we'll talk about this later, but basically kind of a swampy ethics sort of businessman. And then before that, he was a Senate staffer. So this is a guy who is a law school graduate who's never practiced law, and a businessman who's never actually run any important businesses. So what we have in this race is really cool. We have a career servant versus a career politician. And Mark Warner is a career politician. And I think America generally, Virginia specifically, I think we're sick of career politicians. And so Mark Warner's most important vulnerability is that he's a career politician and people are sick of it. In 2008, when he told a buddy of mine, oh, in 12 years, I'm going to be president anyway, so I'm definitely in favor of term limits. And in 12 years later, in 2020, he's not going to be president. I'll tell you that right now. I hope he's still in favor of term limits, and it's time for him to term limit himself. And if he doesn't term limit himself like he said he would, I'm going to term limit him for us, and you're going to help me. So I really, really appreciate that so much. Thank you so much for that. One of the other things that I think is really great is that, everywhere I go, I'm hearing the same message, and that is that the people of Virginia are ready for the next phase. And as you look at 2019, what happened in Virginia was a travesty. Outside money and inside apathy flipped the state from one way to another. And now the Democrats have done what the Democrats always do when they get in charge, which is badly overreach. They badly overreached on guns. They badly overreached on abortion. They badly overreached on surrendering our sovereignty to other states through something called the National Popular Vote Compact. On every issue, the Democrats have gone way overboard on this. And I think now Virginia is awake. I think that the conservative majority in Virginia is awake. And even a lot of independents and Democrats, I've had people coming up to me saying, hey, you know, I'm a Democrat and I typically don't vote for Republicans, but I'm excited about voting for you because they're trying to take my guns, or because they're too extreme on abortion, or whatever. And so I'm really proud of that. I think that's great. I think it's time to flip this seat back to the other side. Yeah, Beverly, good point on redistricting. Yes, it looks like they're going to agree to at the state level, they're going to agree to a bipartisan redistricting or nonpartisan redistricting thing. I hope that's right, but we'll see. We don't know. Rachel, great question on what's my stance on abortion. I'm pro-life. You know, I think that we can't have any other liberty until we have the liberty of having our lives in the first place. And I can defend that from a religious point of view, of course, easily, but I can also defend it from a sort of secular point of view. We know what's going on in the womb. We know that's life. And so what can we do to protect that life? What can we do to enhance that life throughout the pregnancy and then after pregnancy too? So, you know, my wife and I have a rule. You're gonna love this. We have a rule that whenever we're in public, we always say hi to babies. And the reason we say hi to babies is not just because they're cute, mostly. Some babies, not so sure. But if you're watching and you have a baby, your baby's really cute. Anyway, the reason we say hi to babies is because we want to help create a society, little by little, that is welcoming to women and babies. When a young mother is working really hard to take a baby out in public, we want her to feel welcome in doing that, because we think it really does cause people to have a better those mothers have a better experience. And so that's one thing we do. And I'm committed to family policies in the U.S. Senate once I'm elected. Very hard. Okay, so Joan Towns, again, a Second Amendment question. I know you probably didn't get on this thing until the very end, or till close to the end now. I'm 100% pro Second Amendment. I'm a concealed carry permit holder. I believe this is about the right of people to defend themselves against tyranny, defend themselves and their families. It's not really about guns at all. That's what the left mistakes here. It's not about guns. It's about the role of government in our lives. And if we believe in limited government, we must also believe in our own right to defend ourselves. Chesapeake, Newport News. Okay, here we are. Well, this is really fun. So, Brett Duckworth, again, great question. You're killing it with the good questions. Brett's question here was, what is your position on the UN and its perceived overreach? You know, here's the thing. I'm an America First guy, and I'm proud to be an America First guy. So there's no area in which I'm okay with surrendering U.S. sovereignty, U.S. law to UN overreach. The UN has all kinds of bad treaties they would love for us to ratify, and I will stand against them, because U.S. law should be made by U.S. legislators and executed by a U.S. president, not the other way, not some foreign body. So I am against a lot of that UN overreach.